So today, Apple announced the brand new iPhone 6, and after seeing what it can do, it kind of made me wonder who is actually going to be buying the iPhone 16. Like the 16e is $200 cheaper, yet it has the same display size, a better battery life, the same chip on the inside, the same software across the board, almost everything the same or better than the iPhone 16, with a couple small exceptions that we'll talk about throughout this video. So this is my first impressions video talking about the iPhone 16e, everything you need to know, what Apple announced, and ultimately help you decide if you should pre-order this brand new iPhone. So let's start off with the basics here. This is a 6.1-inch display, the same display size as the iPhone 16 and the 16 Pro, the smaller models. For two of those, you can see on the back. It comes in two different colors and it is a ceramic shield back, so it should be very durable. It also has aluminum all the way around, much like the iPhone 6 does on the front. You'll notice that the display, despite being the same size as the iPhone 16, the first difference you're going to see here is going to be on the top. So this does have Face ID, unlike the older iPhone SE models, which had a fingerprint sensor. This has Face ID on the top, but instead of the little dynamic island cutout we're seeing on the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, we now have that notch like we used to have on older iPhone models. I know some people really did like the iPhone SE and having that button, but unfortunately, if you're a big button user like the sun setting on that, you either have to switch to Android or start using Face ID here, and the battery life is actually a massive improvement. Getting a claimed 26 hours of video playback compared to, I believe, 22 on the iPhone 16, and that's 12 hours more than the older iPhone SE models, and I believe 11 hours more than the old iPhone 11 models. So the battery life should be substantially better on this phone than, honestly, most other iPhones out there. The chip is the same A8 chip that we're seeing on the iPhone 16 models, which is great. That means you're going to be much more future-proof. I think a lot of people buying the C and now the E model, as they're just being called, are looking to buy this phone and hold it for quite a few years. So having that future-proof chip on here, that's going to be faster than basically any other phone chip on the market, is really going to be a huge win for a budget-friendly phone like this. Going back to the back side of this phone, the big difference that you probably noticed right away looking at this, and some people like it, some people don't. Personally, I think it kind of looks nice. The minimal style phone. You just have one camera lens on the back. It's really been a while since we've seen a phone launch with just one camera on the back. This camera is 48 megapixels. Apple is calling it a 2-in-1 camera. Really what they mean is you can zoom into two axes. You have like a 1x or a 2x. You have one camera on the back. It's 48 megapixel, so really nice resolution. We should be getting some pretty decent photos on here, much better than the older iPhone SE models. So I'm excited to really do a comparison between the iPhone 16e, the 16 and 16 Pro, and really see how those photos compare as you zoom in using just that one lens back. But unfortunately, without the ultra-wide lens, we don't have a couple things. We don't have macro mode on here, so you won't be able to take some really close-up macro shots. The primary lens should do a pretty decent job up to a certain distance, but your focal length is going to be limited there, so no macro mode on this. We also don't have spatial video or spatial photos because you just don't have two lenses to do that with. Obviously no ultra-wide photography, but it does have a lot of the other standard stuff you'd expect to see on an iPhone, a lot of the same software on there that, you know, a very similar processing pipeline for the photos, photographic styles, visual intelligence, all the different things like that are going to be on the 16e. The front camera also has the same resolution as all iPhone 16 models, including the Pro models, and I'm really happy to see that they did include the satellite SOS. That's a feature that I could see them not including on here. They also have the same IP water resistance rating on here, as wireless charging on here, but the wireless charging is going to be a little bit slower, limited to 7.5 watts versus the 16 models, which are typically getting about 25 watt wireless charging. And Apple also announced their C1 modems. This is going to give the phone 5G, but it's the first time they actually have an in-house modem that is kind of getting away from their Qualcomm 5G chips they were using on previous iPhone models. This is something we're probably going to see on future iPhones as well. On the side, you have the same power button, the same volume buttons, the same action button on the left side. So instead of a little toggle switch you had on the older models, you know, just like most modern iPhones, you just have that button, which is programmable. It could be the silence button you've been using for a while, or you could use it to really do anything you want, to open apps, shortcuts, stuff like that. But it does not have the camera control button that we're seeing across the board on the iPhone 16 models. Honestly, I don't think that's a huge drawback. I like the button a lot because I open my camera all the time using that button, so that would be a drawback for me personally. But again, when you're looking at that price difference, $200 less for essentially the same phone, that's not really a pro-grade camera phone. I don't know if people are going to care as much about not having that camera button. I would really like to have a shortcut on the power button, like double pressing. That would be a great way to open it. But how you could use the action button if you wanted to open your camera using that instead. Oh, and the storage options are also significantly better than the older iPhone SE models as well. So those were 64 gigabytes, which I believe it's been 3 years now since the last iPhone SE came out. It came out in March of 2022, so 3 years now, but obviously going to be expecting a better storage upgrade here. So it was 64 gigabytes. Now the 128 gigabytes pretty standard for a phone, really the minimum. I would say that's acceptable and you can actually upgrade this as well. It goes up to 256 gigs of storage, which is an extra $100, bringing you to $699. Or you can go up to 512 gigs of storage for $899. Obviously, you could just upgrade your iCloud as well if you wanted to, but I personally really like having the extra storage, so it's nice that you do have that option on the phone. But ultimately the iPhone 16, is it worth it? You really going to have two schools of thought on this? One school is going to be if you're looking for a mid-range phone. There are definitely cheaper Android phones out there. There's going to be phones that have, comparable specs, but are, $500 or even less on the Android side. But a lot of people are just looking for an iPhone. Maybe it's like your mom, maybe it's a college student, somebody that's like, hey, I want an iPhone. Either they don't want to learn how to use Android, which honestly, it's not really that hard to do. But hey, a lot of people don't want to do that, or they just really feel the need to iMessage on FaceTime to connect with their family because everybody they know has an iPhone. And in that realm, it's a fantastic deal you're looking at. Besides this, you would either have to get a 3-year-old iPhone SE or the iPhone 16, which is $800. So $200 less I think is a really compelling buy. And like I said in the beginning of this video, kind of makes the iPhone 16 like a really weird spot. Like, I don't know who's actually going to be buying the 16. You really only want to get the Pro if you really use cameras a lot and you really want those features, or get the iPhone 6e and save the money. Like the iPhone 16 kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense to me anymore. But let me know what you think in the comments down below about the iPhone 6. Again, $600 and a lot of the same specs as the iPhone 16. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.